Now this crust, if you don't have a nut allergy, these crusts are awesome. You can use these for pies, for cakes, for ice cream crumble, for cheesecakes, whatever you want. All you do is you take a base of nuts. I've got pecans and almonds in here. You can use any kind of nuts you want. The reason I use pecans and almonds is the pecans, they have a high fat content, so when you blend them up, they get really sticky, okay? And the almonds, they stay pretty firm and they go kind of powdery when you blend them up. So I find that when I blend the pecans and almonds together, it makes kind of like, you know, the graham cracker crust where it's nice and fluffy till you smash it down and then it sticks. It makes that kind of texture. So it's just half pecans, half almonds. And I wanted like a ginger snap crust. That's kind of the effect that I wanted to have. So I'm going to put a tablespoon of ginger powder in there. And a little bit of salt, just a little pinch of salt. And a little tiny bit of stevia powder. You can, if you're using a drier nut, like if you're using all almonds, for instance, that are really powdery, I might put a tablespoon of maple syrup in there just to help it stick together. But since I've got the pecans in there, I put a tiny dash of stevia powder in there just so that it wouldn't make it more sticky, but it would give it a tiny bit of sweetness.
How are peanuts? Are they oily or not? Or do you know?
Most people that are teaching how to get healthy, they recommend against peanuts. Because peanuts are very high in mold. Like there's just nothing you can do about it. They just grow mold like crazy. So even if you're not allergic to the peanuts, you're gonna have probably reactions to the mold. Most peanuts are not organic and they have a very, very high pesticide residue. So if you get raw organic peanuts, that's the best way you can, you know, like that's, if you're gonna eat peanuts, raw organic peanuts are the way to go. Otherwise it's best to choose other kinds of nuts just because peanuts have like such a high mold and pesticide profile. All right, all we're gonna do is you're just gonna watch it spin around until it gets, like right now it's powdery. You're gonna wait till it just gets a tiny bit sticky. And then you've got your instant graham cracker crust. Now, when I was younger, I loved graham cracker. I loved cheesecake, and I'd make it all the time. You know that, what do you call the Jell-O box cheesecake, where you get the graham crackers and mix them with butter, and then you get the cheese, cream cheese, and you mix it with eggs and sugar, and then you put it all together and cook it. So I love that, and I find that when I eat this, it's like far more satisfying. It's way easier. You don't have to cook anything, and it's a million times healthier for you. So, yes.
Did you soak those nuts before?
You soak, if you want dry nuts, like if you want to do trail mix or if you want to do a crust with dry nuts or if, you know, whatever you want dry nuts for, you soak them, rinse them, and then if you have a dehydrator, you just throw them in the dehydrator till they get dry and crispy again. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can put them in your oven on the lowest temperature possible. Just put it on a baking sheet like this, lowest temperature possible, and just dry them out in the oven. And then you've got your dry nuts that have had all the enzyme inhibitors soaked off of them. So all of this seems like a kind of a hassle at first, and I remember when I first started learning how to do this, I was just like, oh my gosh, all this is such a freaking hassle. I can't do this, too much time. But once you figure it out, there's definitely a learning curve, but once you figure it out, it's just a matter of planning ahead a little bit, you know? It just takes a little bit of extra time. Soaking nuts doesn't take any time. You put it in a bowl with some water, you leave it overnight, drain it off, throw it in the oven. Like real work time, it takes 5 minutes, right? And then you've got to leave it for a couple hours in the oven to dry out. So it's not that it takes a lot of extra time, you just need a little extra planning in advance. So like, oh, I need nuts, so I'm gonna have to soak them a day ahead of time. So if you just start thinking in terms of advanced planning, then it's not such a big deal. And actually, it's a lot faster to make things this way because you don't have to cook it. You don't, you know, it's a lot easier and a lot faster and obviously a lot healthier. So I'll move this so you guys can see what I'm doing over here. Just take wax paper or parchment paper. I love these little quick release pans just because they're cute and they make nice little round place to do my stuff. You can just do this in a flat pan like the little ones I gave you. I just did it in a flat pan. So you take the crust, just pour it on in the pan, and you smush it down. And it's just exactly like it. You can see it even looks like a graham cracker crust. And you can flavor your crust any way you want. So like when I make my hazelnut chocolate cheesecake, I make the crust with hazelnuts, and then I put a little hazelnut flavoring in there and a little bit of chocolate powder, raw chocolate powder in the crust. And then that's how I make my hazelnut chocolate crust. Or if you're making, let's see, what other kinds of crusts have I made? You can put almond flavoring in with the almonds, so you can just make whatever flavor of crust you like, and then whatever flavor of filling you like. Okay, so we're gonna go down with this. Now, here's how I'm gonna do it just for aesthetics. Now, I put the red stuff down because I also made some fermented raspberry sauce. So I took a bag of raspberries, put it in the blender with a little bit of stevia and a little bit of honey, and then some probiotic capsules, and I left that on the counter for a couple days. And so this is fermented raspberry syrup, okay? It's got all your probiotics in there. So what I wanna do is have a really pretty cheesecake with a pink layer, the crust, the pink layer, the white layer, and then the red raspberry drizzle over the top. And I've got some little candied ginger cubes here that I'm gonna stick on top. So when you're making this kind of food, presentation is really everything. Like if you throw something ugly on the table, even if it's delicious, nobody's gonna wanna eat it, right? But if you put something on there that just makes people's mouth water just to look at it, they're gonna wanna eat it, and then they're gonna taste it and be like, wow, I can't believe this is healthy. So it's a lot easier to get people to do that. Now, if I was making this at home, I would throw this in the freezer, get this nice and firm, and then you're gonna have the pink layer, and then you can put the white layer on top. So that's one option. You can also just, marbleize it, right? And so I'm gonna marbleize this one. What you do is you just go like that, and you drizzle it over the top, and then you take your little spatula and you just kind of swirl it like this, and it makes kind of like a marbled texture in there. And then when it freezes and you're done, you've got your marble, and then you can put your raspberry sauce over the top. All right, so there's your cheesecake. That was easy, right? It was quick, it was easy, it was delicious, it's completely healthy for you. You're eating 100% raw, whole, organic foods, and you're, like I said, getting more nutrition out of dessert than you get out of most meals. Any questions?